So today we're going to be talking about insurance, and insurance is a big part of financial planning. Wherever you are in the world, insurance should make up a large portion or part of your financial plan. In my experience of financial planning over the last 15 years, people far too often overlook insurance. It can be very simple and straightforward, but people often don't like getting involved with it, think of it as a waste of money, and generally don't understand it. So today we're going to be talking about all kinds of insurance, from medical and health insurance to life insurance and other types of insurance that you can have. An interesting fact or stat is that more people have insurance for their cell phone than they do for their life cover. So today's guest, we're going to be talking to Eloi from Feather Insurance. Welcome to our chat today, Eloi. I hope you're well.
I'm super well. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the introduction. Super happy to be there. I will try to make insurance as interesting as possible. I work at Feather, help expat move to France and help them finding the right insurances from their move, even local insurances as well. We are basically the one-stop shop for expat moving to France and to Europe in general.
One-stop shop. I love that phrase. Someone can come to you, your company, the website, and look at the medical cover, the health cover, the mutuelle, the car, the house, the life cover. It's almost a one-stop website for all insurance needs. What's the most common mistake you see people making when it comes to insurance?
Maybe taking it too late. I would say that's bring it to your point. It's definitely something that you don't want to think about it, and so you push it back until it's too late to take it. This is one of the mistake that I see.
Yeah, and that's the worst case, isn't it? The worst case of insurance is too late. And I say this to people: rather be too early and waste some premiums than be too late when it is too late for anything useful to happen. Are there any nationalities that you wouldn't cover who are moving to France? So, for example, a lot of my clients are British or American. They are both run-of-the-mill nationalities that you deal with every day.
So we do cover everyone. There are slight difference between some nationalities. Basically, every European nationalities can benefit from the health European card. So sometimes they don't need to have their insurances to move to France for a short period of time. But for UK or for the US, definitely is a need. And it's our main customers as well. It seems that UK and Americans people love to move to France. So yeah, that's our main customers, definitely.
Yeah. And just to perhaps kick off then with the British side of things, that necessity for health insurance has come about because of Brexit. Is that right?
Yeah. So now there are some rules for UK people to move to France. I think the most important right now is more to speak about the long stay visa, right? We are still that want to retire in France or start a new life in France. Definitely now you need to go through some processes that can sometimes be overwhelming, but we will see this together. And insurances is one part of it to be able to move to France as well.
Good. So a British person, they're going to start applying for their visa. They need to speak to you and your team at Feather Insurance about what type of insurance do they need in order to come and live in France to start with.
You want to be well covered when you will move to France. And at the same time, it's also by the process something that you will definitely need to look after, because it's one of the requirements to move to France in the process of getting a visa, a long-term one, so VLSTS one. And you have a lot of things out there on Facebook groups, on content, a lot of also handholders that can manage your process for getting a visa. Content doesn't mean that it's always accurate. So that's why there is a lot of misconceptions sometimes about insurances in specific.
Yeah.
But there is a couple of criteria that need to be there when it comes to the health insurance. Is you need to have at least 30,000 euro policy coverage per year. You need to be covered for the Schengen area, because when you will be in France, you will be able to move around, go to Spain, go to Italy, and you need to be covered there as well. You need to be covered for routine care as well as hospitalization. And the most important thing is the repatriation part. That's the one where the consulate are carefully looking at. And definitely you need to have this insurance that will cover yourself for the duration of the visa, right? And you have plenty of different providers for different needs, but we will be able to deep dive into it, Mike, later on.
Nice segue into Facebook groups and information online. I've got my own experience, which I'll come on to in a second. But how do you find generally that people that come to you have gained their knowledge about what insurance policies they think they need, and how different is that to reality?
Sometimes you have people that just learn during the process that they need it. You have people that are well prepared. They are preparing for the last 5 years for retiring in France. Sometimes they want to be over-insured, taking some policies that are like super expensive, that will cover for, I don't know, worldwide coverage, super comprehensive, where they already have something in place in their home country, in the US or in the UK. And yet you have exactly the opposite as well, where people just want to take the cheapest option with a travel insurance, for instance, that do not contain all the different requirements of the visa. And this happens like every day, right? So you need to be careful about this. The issue here is that some might go and have their visa with a health insurance, with a travel insurance. And so they will comment, for me, it worked. And so they are like sharing their information, which the process of getting a visa is also like human, right? You have an agent that is collecting all your different dossiers and your different papers, and then he will send it to, he will give the approval basically. So it's a human process. With everything that is human, you also have sometimes some interpretation out of it. So sometimes it may pass, sometimes it may not. So the best way how to be, I will say, to have peace of mind is to follow the requirements and also be well covered when you are in France. Yeah. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah. So just touching on my experience, we used a hand holder. Before we came to France, I was also reading some of the Facebook groups, and one of the areas that scared my wife and I the most was the admin side of things. You hear the horror stories about French bureaucracy and admin and so on. And because our French wasn't as good back then as it is now, we thought, actually, we'll work with someone who does this day in, day out. And we came across this person on a Facebook group and started chatting. Now, with anything, there's good and bad. There's good financial planners and there's bad financial planners. There's some very good handholders out there. And I know this from personal experience because we worked with a very bad one and then we worked with a very good one. And the very bad one, it was a horrible situation to be in, that the information she was giving us was wrong. She took some of our money, didn't do what she said, and left us in a real pickle. And looking back, it was a silly thing to do. We paid for one service that was done, and then we wanted 2 or 3 other things doing, and we paid and never heard from her again. And so the other handholder that we worked with after that, very good, completely the opposite, very honest, straight, knew exactly what she was talking about. Don't take all the information you need from Facebook groups. It's a bit like the financial planning. People can read and they can Google it and they can put it in ChatGPT. But ultimately, unless you're working with someone who's a professional, you're not always going to get it right. And I think that perhaps comes back to dealing with companies that do this day in, day out. And I suppose that's where Feather Insurance comes in.
Just coming back to your story, I definitely feel the pain. Like, I also was an expat back then when I moved to Germany. And German is also a completely different language, right? Than French. Same for American people moving to France, different language. So you are like moving there, you don't understand the language, where everything is pretty local. You also don't understand like the system. So I definitely understand people that need help, especially for like doing the paperwork, But there is a feeling of trust that needs to be created, because it's definitely something where it can impact your life project, right? Moving to France is not something that you will do very easily, especially when you start to have some getting a bit older. And so I think it's good to be like helped by someone for the paperwork, but you need to still be critical about it.
I suppose the next question then is, what do people get wrong mostly when it comes to insurance?
One of the things that came to my mind right away is about pre-existing conditions. For instance, that's a huge topic, especially for like definitely when you get older, you start to have pre-existing conditions, and you wonder if that will be something that will block you from moving to France. I can definitely say that it's not an issue to move to France. It's not something that needs to be monitored and think wisely.
Yeah.
So here, that's what I was saying for the different insurance solutions. You have some very expensive insurance solution out there that cover pre-existing conditions, but sometimes it's better to take something that will not cover pre-existing conditions, that you will pay out of pocket expenses, that will help you to move to France and to be well covered in France, and to know how much you will get, how much you will pay out of pocket. So just like get your medication, take your medication from your home country, and then see how much that will cost if you are like lacking some supplies when you are in France, and then monitor it. Because one misconception that I saw quite a lot is because in the US, for instance, the cost of medication is super high. People think that it's the same in Europe as well, where it's definitely not the same. So insurance companies are using this to increase basically the price of insurances. And sometimes it's just like better cost-wise to just take some insurances that will not cover pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, interesting. And in your experience then, someone moving to France, how long does it take for them to get into the system in terms of the CPAM? How long does that, on average, do you see it take for people to get
Yeah.
fully covered?
Yeah, so that's a good one. Definitely, you have plenty of expats moving to France, knowing that France has a very good social security system, healthcare system, and it's also one of the reason why people are moving to France. And it's definitely important to understand like what are the different processes to get into this public health system. So from the time you get your visa and you move to France, as soon as you arrive in France, you will need to wait for a visitor visa, VLSTS. You will need to wait 3 months to be able to apply to be part of the public health system. The application, this is where also handler can help, because it's everything in French. It's required to have a couple of papers in the dossier, and then you send that to the CPIM, so the local health agency, that will take the application and then process it. And this is where you think it's the end of the process, but it's actually the beginning of it. It's when it's on the side of the health, on the healthcare system, they will process it, and this is when time can be pretty long. It can take, I don't know, 6 months, 3 months. I cannot really say, because it's so, you have more than 800 different local health agencies that are managing it. So it's really different if you are in Paris than if you are in Bordeaux or in Marseille. The time that will need to process the application will be super different.
Yeah.
But yeah, you cannot count less than a month.
And once people have been accepted into the system and they have their carte vitale,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, do you often recommend that they get the mutuelle? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it works?
Yeah, so that's also a good question. I think it's important to understand what's behind the public health system. We say on average, the public health system will cover the medical cost, up to 70% for routine care, so going to see a GP, a specialist, or hospitalization as well. But you have also a lack of coverage from the public health system for dental, if you go to see a dentist, or if you optical or alternative medicine as well. These are the things that are not well covered by the public health system. And that's why how the system is structured in France is that you have the first layer, which is the public health system. And then you have a second layer, which is the top up called the mutuelle, which covers the remaining out pocket of expenses of the public health system. And also the lack. So dental, optical, alternative medicine, and you can pick different plans based on your medical needs. And I would say like 96% of the French people are taking a mutuelle by design, by like the culture. Everyone is taking a mutuelle in France. All my life, I had a mutuelle as well. I never thought about not getting one. And I will do advise taking a mutuelle. You can basically take a basic plan to see. But the whole point of getting a mutuelle is that normally you should have, your cost should be covered by the amount that the mutuelle will reimburse you. And at the same time, like all the insurances is, if something big happens, then you are well covered because I don't know, you are happy to receive back 20 euros from the GP, but if I don't know, I need to pay 5,000 euros and I just have like 30% out of pocket, 30% of 5,000 euros. That can be a big hole in the budget, right?
Yeah.
So you also want to be covered for these big things and I wish anyone to have it, but you never know. And that's why people don't like to think about insurances, is that you don't like thinking about like bad things that can happen to your life. Me, the first one, but that's the whole point of it.
And so would you say that's the most popular product that Feather do?
So we do the whole chain, right? We help expat moving to France with the health insurance for the visa. We do also the mutuelle as soon as they get into the public health system, but we also do all the different products like home insurance, car insurance. We basically want to be the one-stop shop for the expat moving to France. And everything is in English. You can book a call with an expert that will explain you how the system works and how the policy works as well. Basically make things way simple for expat when they are in France. That's the main goal of Feather.
And I suppose leading on from the medical insurance, the mutuelle, the car, home, contents, etc., then comes the life cover.
So everyone that is moving to Europe can benefit from it. It's a lump sum that can cover anything bad that can happen. It's a bit strange to think about it, but yeah, it's a lump sum in case of death of the holder that are like given to the beneficiaries.
Yeah. And is there a maximum amount that's covered?
So we do cover until 600,000 euros per policy.
Per policy.
You do have some medical underwriting.
Age? Yeah. Is there an age limit?
The age for starting the policies 65 years old, from what I recall.
I was once told many, many years ago that the best time to start life insurance is when you're 18 years of age. And of course, most people would never even think about insuring someone who's 18. And usually with financial planning, it only comes in much later when you have not quite liabilities, but let's say you've got a house. Okay, you've got mortgage insurance in the UK, which is quite common. And then perhaps you have children. And then all of a sudden you've got dependents. And that's really when people start, in my experience, they start to look at life cover. Is if something happens to me, what happens to my family, my wife, my kids, etc. But I thought the brilliant bit of advice many years ago was start a policy when you're 18 years of age, because it costs almost next to nothing based on your age and the value, of course. But then that policy can stay with you. And whilst a lot of people think it might be wasted money, many things can happen. And I think life insurance, for me, when I'm chatting to people around the world, it's one of the fundamentals I ask about. Have you got a will? Does that cover your current assets? in the event something happens. But what about life cover? You know, I work for a company, I get 3 times annual salary if I die. Fantastic. What about after that? And I think for me, it's often overlooked by most people. And putting these policies in, yeah, it's a bit of admin, it's a bit of paperwork, it's a bit of underwriting. And when we did our policy, we had to do a couple of medical tests and blood tests and things like that. But since that, it's been leave it in a drawer and forget about it. So is life cover one of those products that perhaps people don't understand, or is it something you see a lot of people taking up?
Yeah, so the life insurance product is definitely something that you touch, right? So I'm speaking about my case. I'm like around 30 years old. I don't have any kids, maybe in the future. And I get what you are saying and I understand it, but you don't feel the risk at that age when you don't have some dependent. And definitely it's wise to take it early because you have some life insurance that can block the price and you can take the life insurance and set a term of 30 years and then the price will be blocked for 30 years and you will be covered for 30 years. That's fine. I do feel that you have some triggers that helps to think about it as soon as you have a baby or as soon as you have a mortgage. Definitely is this kind of moment where you're like, okay, I need to think about it and I need to go through it. So this is something that we see on our customers as well. When you move to Europe and you buy a house or you move with your family, we have some customers that are like taking out this policy to cover the whole life project. Definitely.
Can you be over-insured? That's another question I'm asked sometimes. Actually, it's something that my wife and I think we have 2 separate life policies, and I sometimes question, are we over-insured? I'd rather be over than under. But do you often get that question, or do you often see people having too much insurance?
The thing is, sometimes you don't even know that you are covered. You know, now with your your credit cards, you have also a couple of embedded insurances that are inside the card. For instance, like travel policies that are like embedded into the card is something that people forget they have. So for some type of policies, people are over-insured. For instance, travel, if they are taking a travel insurance and several cards, they will have several travel policy. Always need to be checked in detail, but most of them have it. But I see for other type of policies, people are like most of the time underinsured, I will say. And coming back to one thing that you were saying, you know, the worst thing is being too late when it comes to insurance. I have an interesting story about it. Sometimes you think that it's too late when it's actually not. We had a story where a customer was doing and preparing his visa. So he was at the TLS center to make the visa and to have to basically give all the paper to receive the visa. And he was next to someone that was doing the same as him. And he heard that this person didn't have the health insurance ready and he missed that document. And so he was like, I will not get my visa because I'm missing this document and I didn't think about it. So he was thinking, okay, it's going to be too late. I will need to postpone by 3 months my move to France. And the guy that was all set just shared this information saying that you can go through Feather website and take it online in 5 minutes and you will receive the certificate right away that you can share with the agent. So he did it and he actually received the visa in the perfect timing. So he signed up with us in 5 minutes online, received a certificate, sent it by email to the agent, and received the visa, and he was able to move to France and be covered when he was there. And the funny thing is, we heard about this story not by a customer just because he was sharing this story on Facebook. So Facebook is also a way, a community where you can receive some good story or help from expat that already went through it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting. And if I put you on the spot and said, I have a couple who are 60 years of age. They live in America. They're wanting to move to France on a retirement visa. They need the health insurance to apply. Approximately, what do you think they might be paying for that insurance?
Yeah, so it depends how they want to be covered. If they want to be covered for, I will say, essential plan, if they want to be covered in the Schengen area for routine, hospitalization, repatriation. So I will say the essential plan will cost around like 150, both of them, for the full couple per month. And if they want to be covered with a wider coverage area, so extension of the Schengen area with like preventative care and everything, that will cost way more. So I definitely advise to go for the essential plan because it's a good coverage when they are in France and the Schengen area. And I will also ask if there is any pre-existing conditions to be monitored as well, because that's definitely an important topic to manage.
Yeah, yeah. So about 150 euros for a couple per month.
Yeah. And it starts to
Wow.
be a bit more as soon as you are 65 and more.
Okay. And do you ever have conversations with Americans when they say, wow, that's amazing. Look at what we're currently paying in America per month?
Every day. It's insane. The thing that I receive the most is look what I'm paying and look at the level of deductible that I have as well. So
Yeah.
I'm paying, I don't know, 1,000 a month and I have like K deductible per year. So I don't know. I grew up in France. I grew up in that system. And so I'm completely biased there. But I think French people are completely the opposite of the American people when it's come to the health system. French people think that everything is free, where American people that everything needs to be paid. As soon
Yeah.
as you go to the doctor, you will pay everything out of pocket. So that's a completely different behavior and conception. We are very lucky to be part of French for this. It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
definitely nice.
I think perhaps my previous guest, Richard, mentioned about the healthcare around the world, and France actually ranks very, very highly. And America doesn't rank that highly. I can't remember the exact position on the sort of league table, but it was quite far down. And just to add to that, my experience of living in, I suppose, 4 countries now, the UK, we all know the problems the NHS have, and we'll not get into that. South Africa is private healthcare, which was very good. France, my experience so far has been 100%. My GP is available. I could probably get a meeting with him tomorrow. Honestly, the hospital, actually here in Toulouse, it looked more like a hotel. It was beautiful. You know, the corridors were not like a UK hospital where they're very clinical. It was very nice. The room was a private room. The staff were there. They weren't running around like, you know, lunatics that you see on the TV. And so I think the experience I've had so far in France has been A+.
Yeah. But that's good to hear, right? It's sometimes when you grew up in the system, you just see the bad side of it and just point out the bad side of it. But definitely working with expats for now a long period of time, I value a lot the French healthcare system.
If there's one thing that we want people to remember from today's conversation, what would that be?
I would say don't stress too much. Take it seriously. Be sure that you are well covered. We are there to help if you need to. We are always available to have some like consultation with you. The insurance will enable you to go through the visa, but at the same time be covered in France, and that's it.
Yeah. Don't stress. There's people who can help. Speak to a professional. Work with people that know what they're doing, and hopefully your dream move to France will be exactly as you hope it to be.
Exactly.
Thanks for your time today. It was great chatting. I hope people find this episode really useful and interesting. And if they want more information, where can they find it?
They can go on our website, featherinsurance.com. You will find everything that you need here. We can help with all the different insurances that you need to make your move to France a bit smoother.
What about pets? Can dogs, cats, can they get insurance as well?
Yeah, everyone can get an insurance, like from the dog owner to the dog. Like the price of vets are getting higher in France. And this is something that you can cover as well for your pets. So everyone can be covered if you move to France. Don't worry about that.